Yeah, welcome to Design Systems 101 or 101. This won't be a very in-depth thing, but just a basic introduction with you all to with design systems. And this is not system design, so don't confuse it. I think you wouldn't have seen so much of colors in any system design PPT. So okay, let's go ahead. So yeah, namaskar, namaste, hello. I'm Arijit Patra, and I am right now a senior front-end engineer at InstaFreight. And I love UI, UX. I love being social offline, and I love visual communication and biryani with dal. Okay, next. So all of you are here, and so I can't ask you this question because I am not being able to hear. So, anyways, let me set the expectations. So, what's in it for you guys in the next 15 to 20 minutes? So, in the next 15 to 20 minutes, we will be going through and this PPT and understand the basics of this design system and what is a design system, why we use a design system, and how you use a design system. And we will also see a few examples. Uh, cool. So I'll go ahead. Okay, first question: why we need a design system? Let's start with the problems first. So design system is a solution to something, but every solution comes with a set of problem. I mean, for a problem to solve, there is a solution. So let's start with what are the problems. And if you see the meme, it says it's about a user interface. Why you not be user friendly? And also for us developers, why the code is not sometimes developer friendly. uh, you mean so when I say that like user friendly, it could be like a button might look different on one screen in the same application. It might look very different on another part of the application, and or a drop down may have like before you there might be have been few more developers who were there in the company. They created their own drop down component, and then they left, and you didn't know. You created when you joined, you created your own, and things happened like that. So maybe just for a drop down you have 4 or 5 different implementations, and those are being used across your application. So ideally it should not be the case. So now suppose if somebody asks you to, hey, please update the drop down, then you need to go to different files and then update those files. So you are doing redundant work. Why not just have only one drop down component code and then use it everywhere? So yeah, I mean, this is yeah. So I in one of the previous talks, somebody asked you that how many of you are programmers here in this conference, and I think the response was everybody is a programmer. So if you are thinking design system is not for you, it's hold on, it's for you as well. It's for the designers, it's for the PMs, it's for the UI developers, everyone. Okay. Now, as I was saying, there are, if you see these ones, a primary button should look like this. This is just an example. Suppose you're working at X company, and X company follows certain color guidelines, and according to them, everywhere the button should look like this. Wherever it's a primary button, it should look like this. Wherever it's a secondary button, it should look like this. And whenever it's a tertiary button, it should look like this. Or this version is also accepted, but these versions are not accepted. If you see here, the primary button here is little rounded, and that's not what you want. And a primary button here, if you see, it's not in the blue, solid blue color. So all these are problems, and this can happen if you are not like religiously following all the guidelines, or if you don't have a design system. Next example, if you see here, so these are suppose kind of some content image, content headline, and some content description. But here it looks different. But ideally, this should have been the case. That's because there is inconsistency in design. Okay, this is an example of inconsistent page design where you have the main nav bar here in one page and the body here. Then on this page two, you have main body here, and on beside it, you have the navigation. And on page three, you have the navigation on the left side and the main body on the right side. That's not what any user would expect when they are visiting your application. They will expect certain kind of consistency. So ideally, a consistent page should be like this. Wherever you have your things, it stays there in every page. If you are having them, I mean, if you are having a nav bar, and if you are using it at the bottom of the screen, then in any page I go, I will expect it to be there. And I don't know if this website exists or not, but the problem here is, if you see, there are so much of fonts here. There is a different font here, there's a different font here, there is a different font here as well, and here also so many different fonts. So as a developer, I have been asked to code, and then you will be left wondering, which font should I use for this one, which font should I use for this one. If you have a design system, then you just go to your design system documentation and then just import the component for typography and use it accordingly. You don't need to care about how the CSS will look like for what do you call it, the headers, or what font it should have. Your design system takes care of that all, and that reduces your load. You can ship your features faster, and also that what do you call it? It creates a big consistency in the design. So yeah, so these problems are not problem anymore with design systems. So the big question: what is a design system? Well, design system sits somewhere between all these things. It's somewhere between graphics or the design part. It's a set of guidelines also. It's code as well. So whenever you have your UX components translated into React code, you can call it like a React UI component, which you can reuse. And don't worry, these things will get clearer as we progress. We will see more examples. And then for design guidelines, it's like how a design should be used. So if we refer to the previous example that we have seen here, a primary button should look like this. This is your guideline. A primary button should not look like this. And then you have your technical specifications as well, like how you can add multiple props to your reusable UI components and make them like achieve different things. Okay, so design system is managing and scaling of design and code with the help of standards, patterns, reusable UI components. It's also a design language. So what happens generally when so I am in Germany right now. I don't know German, so it's very difficult for me as an Indian to communicate with someone in German, right? That's because we don't speak the same language. Or suppose in India we might not know all the languages, so it's difficult for us to communicate. But for an effective system, you need to communicate in the same and a common language so that everybody understands what everyone is speaking about, right? So this design system thing helps you achieve that. It's like a design. It's like a language of design where everything has a common set of standards, patterns, and guidelines. It's also a tool to eliminate redundancy, brings in consistency, and clearly defines the guidelines. So no confusion when you are designing a UX or UI design, or even when you are coding. Okay, still, if you are feeling confused, then let's take an example, or let's take a look at few examples. And I think that's better than the talking. And then we will try to connect the dots together. So before going to a few examples of design systems, I'll quickly show you what do you mean by a brand guideline. So mostly every company or a brand, whatever you build, it's kind of a brand or for something. They will have certain guidelines. So for example, if we take a look at this LinkedIn guideline, brand guideline. It has got a lot of things. We won't go to everything. So it says that whenever they use illustrations, they use neutral faces like this, like kind of flat designs where you don't have the facial features completely. This is their color palette. So whenever LinkedIn applications will only you wherever you like inside LinkedIn, you will only find these colors. You are restricted to these colors only. This is the logo. It should be always used like this. And they have some more things. And then they say that the font they use across LinkedIn, it's called community. So you can't use any other font. Okay, let's get back to our presentation. Oops. Hmm. Now we can take a look at a few examples of design system. Okay, let's start with Zomato. Zomato's design system is called Sushi Design System. I'm not sure if they are still using it or they have an updated one, but it's an old blog from 2019. And here, we will come to this later on in a different place. So here, if you see, Zomato has said that they will be using only this kind of text sizes, which here, if I zoom in, it's like 27 points for regular, and then 24 for the smaller ones. They're using 11 points, and then they have font weight, different these three font weights that they're using. And then you have color system also. So they said that we will use only these colors everywhere across our application. And they have also defined, they have restricted themselves to certain set of icons. And they have also clearly defined about the spacing and the shadows. So if I join Zomato, or you join Zomato tomorrow, and then you are a UI developer there, you want to put in 13 pixel of spacing, you are not allowed there to do that, because your design system doesn't allow to do that. And by putting you in constraint, everything stays consistent. And yeah, it's not like that these things are developed over the night. It takes time to build these things, so it's properly well researched and has got some reason why it's like that. So for shadows also, they have mentioned how much shadows you can place. Then they have these buttons thing. So whenever you will have button, what will be the different state of the buttons, how will they look like, how will their different components. So if each of these will be like uh, components in your React UI code, right? So this is how an input box will look like. This is how a search box will look like. So if you have seen any design inconsistency in the Zomato application, which I think you won't generally see, because they follow a certain set of patterns and standards. Then there are more. So I will go to the details of everything. Then we can take a look at the example from okay, Razorpay. So Razorpay is okay. It's taking some time to load. And then you have material UI, which is a little bit generic. You can customize it on your own. Since we have time constraint, I won't be able to go through all of them, but just showing you. So suppose in Razorpay, they have said they have defined 4 different types of buttons, and you can also kind of change. Like this is kind of a storybook thing where you can change certain properties, and you will get the how it behaves. You will get to see it in real time. And I think inside docs you will also get to see the code. So if you see, if I want to use this button as a new developer in the team, how should I use it? So they have also defined that. So it's part of your design system. It's not just design, it's also code, and defining the right set of props and making a few constraints. Okay, cool. So in next we see atoms are like very small elements. If you see atoms in a design system, they're the minutest particles. Then we are not talking about design tokens right now. Then we have molecules, organisms, and what I mean by that is, if you see here in this example, so this singularly is one what do you call it? One atom. This singularly is one atom. This is one atom. This is a button. This is an input. This is a label. When I combine all of them, it become a molecule, and it looks something like this. So it's kind of a pattern. You have designed a pattern. Okay, next. So yeah. So again, coming back to what is a design system, it's a code, it's design library, it's documentation, it's everything together. It's not just design. And why use a design system? Obviously, it has certain benefits, and it reduces something and makes somebody happy. Let's see. So yeah, it's a single source of truth. It's common design language. It increases the consistency. It decreases redundancy in code and design. It helps in maintainability, better code and component reuse. No more confusion or debate on functional and visual consistency. That happens quite a lot in companies where they don't have design system. Makes life easier for the UX team, UI designers, UI devs, PMs, QAs, everyone. Helps thinking components and patterns very clearly. You can like define what all props you want and all. Faster feature releases you can do, because you don't need to code everything all over again every time when you're building something, because you already have those in your design system. And easy to learn for new team members in the team also. No searching around in thousands of the files and feeling confused. And how to use a design system? You can maybe use an existing component library like MUI React or some other alternative and customize it according to you. Or you can from the scratch build your own design system. And how to like you can also use Storybook to showcase your reusable UI components or some alternatives. So what is a Storybook? It's something like this, a very quick example. It just has got all your UI components in one place, which you can check via a local host URL, or you can host it somewhere. And anywhere new anybody wants, if they want to use any new component, they can just go there, search the name of the component, and see what are the props that they can pass. They can change the props and see how it behaves. They can also get the code of it. I mean, how to use it. They will just import this component in their code, and then they are done. So Storybook is one of the examples where you can document everything. There could be different alternatives as well. Again, coming back, I think we have very less time, and I'll be quick here. And yeah, so there are, I mean, when you are using a design system, existing one, then you also get certain libraries or I mean, certain assets for Figma, Sketch, or XD that helps you in prototyping. You can publish the code component library that you created as an npm package, or go with a monorepo, and make sure react UI components that you are creating in a design system, they are dump components. By dump component, I mean that they should not contain any logic. The logic should be there in your code, and these are just for the UI patterns and all. And the question comes like, should you build it in house versus you should use an existing design system or not? So the problem with building it in house is it takes a lot of time, and apart from time, it also takes a lot of budget and yeah. So if you can see, if you adopt something, it's low cost, less customization, low brand differentiation. And if you create something, you can make it more customized, but with a more cost. And yeah, then you can learn more about design tokens and all. So a quick recap. So what we learned is about what is a design system, why use a design system, and how to use a design system. Either you can create your own, you can use certain existing things,